Well, here we are in Dallas, Texas, and it's my pleasure and honor to be here with Lloyd Yost, who is a friend of mine and also a comrade that served in Vietnam. Now, you were there from what years?
And 69, when it June and June.
So you were getting ready to replace me because you got there in June and I left in August. So well, our paths definitely crossed, probably at Shamrock.
I was at Shamrock.
I would guess. So to start this interview, I just need to get a little background information on you. Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in Nebraska, southwestern Nebraska. I was raised in eastern Colorado, right next to the Nebraska state line.
Okay.
And of course, I was there 26 years before I started moving around.
What was childhood like for you growing up?
It was, well, like I say, I lived on a farm. I went to a country school. I was.
Is that where the grades they had 1 through 5 in the same schoolhouse type of thing?
Yeah, setting just like this, and like you say, there was about 4 families there, and there was about 12 of us.
I'll be.
And I lived on a farm. We didn't have any running water. It was my grandparents' homestead, and then.
Does that mean you had an outhouse?
Yep.
Okay. And what kind of farming were your
Well,
folks
basically, it was dryland farming, so it was up to.
Boy, that that'll make a believer out of a guy.
Right. So yeah, so we finally moved into the little town, Ray, Colorado, and Mom got a job there. Then we'd go out on the farm on the weekends, and we did that for a couple of years, and then Dad finally moved into town too, and he'd go back and forth.
Oh yeah, so they still had a connection with the farm.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then did you graduate from high school at that point?
I graduated from high school there. I come back and taught school there off and on for 2 years until I got drafted.
Okay, so you went to college right out of high school?
Yes.
And where did you go?
Well, actually, I went to junior college on a wrestling scholarship, and I transferred into what is now Northern Colorado University. Got my Bachelor of Arts.
BS degree and then teaching certificate, I suppose?
Yeah.
So you taught for a couple of years?
Well, I say off and on. I taught for about a year. I got drafted.
So you got the greetings letter?
Yeah. So I graduated in December, got a reclassification A. So I went down to the courthouse and asked the lady, her son was in my class, one of them, and she said, I said, are you drafting teachers? She said, yes. I says, what does that mean? She says, well, if we stay on quota, which we have been, we're probably looking at January.
Oh, so you weren't shocked?
No.
You were anticipating that?
Well, I figured my oldest brother, he was drafted. He has polio on one leg, was an inch and a half shorter than the other, and they still took him, but they made him a cook in there, and he was a jailbird. So he went over to Vietnam as the battalions. You're an old country boy on flat surface. Spent 21 days on a ship to get to Southeast Asia, so that was probably so anyway, yeah, I didn't really anticipate it or expect it, but...
You weren't married at the time?
No.
Okay. And any fiancés?
No.
Okay. So you get your letter and so forth. Where did they send you to basic training?
Went to Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay. And what do you remember specifically? Now, did you arrive at the fort on bus? Did they bus you there? And what was your impression when you got there?
Well, we flew in, of course. We flew in, they bussed us. And one of the first things they showed us how to make a bed and flip a quarter. The next thing was standing in parade rest, waiting to get our haircuts.
What do you remember that day pretty well?
And then it was Seattle. I guess it's a lot like Dallas, where you maybe get a snowstorm every 18 years or so. And that was one of those times when we got about a foot and a half.
Oh, Fort Lewis.
Foot and a half of snow, and our drill sergeant was with us for maybe all of 2 days. He had us out in the not in where the trucks pushed the snow down, but he had us out in the field with our M12s above our head, which weighed what, 12 pounds?
Sure.
So needless to say, he got replaced.
Wow.
And then the
I'm
other,
surprised you didn't tell me he got promoted.
well, you never know. You never know. He got.
Anyway, he
and
was
he was
gone.
no longer there. And then the other thing I remember about that was they had us out on the basketball court at 9 o'clock at night with our entrenching tools, taking the snow off of.
Oh my gosh.
And just the things that they do to screw with your mind.
Mhm.
We was in the old barracks, and you had the second floor, and they had us on our belly crawling up the stairs like alligators and people coming down. So it was all that stuff.
Do you remember Fire Watch?
Yeah.
You remember, and especially, I don't know if they did it on the bottom floor, but I was on the top floor in basic, and they every guy, you took turns, but you walked around. Remember, as fire guard, and in case a fire started, then I guess this guy's supposed to wake everybody up, and then everybody gets out.
Yeah.
But
I won't say. I mean, when I got back from Vietnam, I was a sergeant on duty pulling guard at night, and I had guys sleeping on guard, and I go get the lieutenant, and nothing happened.
sure. So okay. So what do you remember about basic? What do you remember? What did you learn? What were they teaching in basic training?
Well, like I say, it was infantry. So spent a lot of time.
Did you know you were going to be infantry?
Oh yeah, I always say I had my 30-second interview, which lasted 5 seconds because I told them I wanted to be a cook based on what my brother said,
Sure.
and of course they knew what I was going to be.
Oh, I know, of course.
They knew what
Yeah, I was going to be a radio guy, so I know exactly what you're saying.
So I mean, it's just the basic stuff. Rifle range, going gas, exposed to gas, and all the elements that you might.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember, I shouldn't say this, one morning we was out in the sawdust pits doing calisthenics, and this sergeant didn't like the looks.
Did you call it the sawdust pits?
Oh, I did, but I don't.
Oh, I mean,
I did.
okay, yeah.
So because that's what it was.
Yeah.
He didn't like the way I was doing push-ups. I didn't say sergeant 1, sergeant 2, so he made me do some more extra. So I thought it was interesting. When we got back, I was stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas, because they was doing a build-up for Forger 2. And there was about 6 of us E6s decided to go have lunch at the Commissioners Club in lieu of going to the mess hall. And lo and behold, sitting right over there, I was staring him right in the eye, and he kept looking at me, and I went to go over and say, E5, E6. So he recognized me, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah, sure.
And we just left. And
So you graduated from basic without no problems. I
No
mean,
problems.
yeah. And then where did you stay at Fort? Or did you go to AIT?
well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, AIT is Fort Lewis Force.
Okay, yeah. And like I went to Fort Ord for basic and stayed right there for AIT too.
Yeah, they just drove you around.
A lot of guys went basic here and then AIT
Hmm.
someplace else. A ton of them. And I'm not sure why they did that, but that's the way it went. So you're in AIT. Now it's a different atmosphere. They're not making you drop and all that kind of stuff. So what do you remember was different about AIT than basic?
I just remember to make sure you didn't have any coins in your pocket, because those sergeants liked for you to get up on their apparatuses and they would piece up the coin. I should say, behind you.
Oh, sure. You mean if you when they fell out?
But other than that, I don't remember much.
Did you like Army food?
Oh yes, I mean.
You were going to be a cook and your brother was a cook. Did you feel like the mess hall and stuff was pretty decent?
It was good, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so what did you learn? What kind of different things did you learn in AIT?
Right offhand, I can't think of anything.
Did you get to shoot an M16 or were you still in 14?
No, you 16 because I became a sharpshooter. I got the sharpshooter during training.
Okay.
So.
And then when you got ready to graduate, when you were done with AIT, did they approach you and say, do you want to go to instant NCO school, or what was your next duty assignment?
Well, I had already give that some thought because having graduated from college, I was probably a little bit older than some.
Yep.
And the question is,
So what were you, about 24?
somewhere in there, 20, I'll say 23, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you,
the question
you know,
is, did I want to spend another 20 years in the service?
so go to OCS or
and all
something
that
like
stuff.
that.
I
Yeah.
just figured at that point I might as well go in and get out. So like I say, when I got drafted, I had to make the decision to continue the school year and go in June or go in January. I decided to go in January,
Mhm.
and that way when I took an early out. I mean, I signed out the day before Christmas. So I was only actually in the service 1 year, 11 months and 10 days.
Okay.
Got out so I could start graduate school, and when I got home.
Okay, tell me about the NCO school
I
that you
didn't
went.
go. I didn't go to NCO.
Oh, okay.
I made all my, I went into Vietnam as a 2 and come out.
Okay,
as
that was going to be
Six.
my next question. So you just made rank.
I made rank in there,
Yeah, kind of like, that's what I did too. I went in as an E2 and wound up as an E6. So, I mean, I always tell people, they ask me, well, what was so special about you? And I said, attrition. I said, we went through so many NCOs that I think I was E5 6 months.
No, I wasn't that. I don't think it was that problem. Sergeant Franks
Chael Franks.
was in January to January, and he used to tell us that during his year there that he never lost a man. But I can remember we had Sergeant Franks, Sergeant Esses, Sergeant Radley, Sergeant Dunlap. I mean, we had a lot of E6s.
And those were shake and bakes, most of them, right?
Yeah, I think I was the only one that didn't go through NCO school.
So what was your, when you finished that, you went to Vietnam, did you leave from Oakland?
Yes.
Okay, and then you got to Vietnam and you landed. What was your first impression of Vietnam?
Well, first of all, when we was approaching mainland, the pilot tipped the plane and said, "Here's Vietnam." But once we hit the tarmac, I would say taking 10 steps, you was sweating like a. It really hit you fast. And of course, you know, you spent a week in Cu Chi to adapt to the heat and humidity.
So do you remember when you got to, you flew into Tan Son Nhut, right? And then you went to Benoit, and then Long Binh,
We flew into Benoit.
and then Long Binh was the replacement station. Do you remember sitting in the bleachers a couple of times a day waiting for your name to be called? And
No, I can't remember that.
when were you told that you were going to the 25th and Charlie Company? And
I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, just
did you, when you got your orders, did anybody mention the Wolfhounds? Did anybody say, wow, you know, you're going to the Wolfhounds,
No.
feel sorry for you? Okay, you didn't, in other words, you really didn't know anything about the unit that
did not know.
unit you were going to. So they said, okay, get on that deuce and a half and
That's
you're
it,
gonna
that
go.
was it.
What was it like when you got to the Charlie Company area?
Well, it was bad for the unit. I mean, I was pulling guard duty for the first 3 nights because there was all kinds of activity going on out there, and they didn't want anybody
And just to refresh my memory, what time of year was this?
in June.
Oh, say June. So you were just about right in the monsoon season. It was raining.
So, I mean, so all kinds of hell was going on. So they didn't want anybody that new in the country because you don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
Situation like that. So.
Had you been issued all your gear at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you were ready to rock and roll. Did they, basically were you just waiting to get out to the field, out to the unit?
Well, yeah, we was already in Shamrock waiting, pulling guard duty. Cause,
Oh, so you were already out
yeah,
there.
and like I say, they were under a lot of activity out there, and so.
Have you ever seen so many booby traps in all your life? You know, Shamrock is I've always wondered what their thinking was, why they
Well, you know, as Americans being as we are, when we go to an ambush patrol, we'd always come back the same way. And the next morning, there was about 12 wires there, you know, so why we didn't go, you know, a different route, I don't know.
Sure.
But I can only remember, I mean, like I told Sergeant Radley, you got to be lucky getting out of there.
A lot of luck.
I remember once, I can't remember the young man's name, and he said, Sergeant Yost, what's this? And of course, it was a booby trap. And
So he was pointing it out.
yeah, and I'd walked over. I mean, we'd kind of paused there and
Yeah.
stuff. So, I mean, I don't know how many more I walked over, but that was brought to my attention. Of course,
Mhm.
we see what happened. So.
What was your position in the platoon when you first got there?
I was carrying the duper.
Okay. And do you remember how many rounds were in that rucksack and how much it weighed?
No.
Was it heavy?
No, not really. I mean, you know, I was kind of growing up in the rural. I mean,
You were in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do remember, I got a picture of it, is when we did start doing ball games, I had a big twig about this long, and I was carrying my duper, but I was also, that twig was to set off any wires that might.
Interesting.
And I do, and I got a picture of it, and I don't know if you ever talked to Sergeant Cloud, but I found a mine, because I was at the,
Yeah, sure.
and I find a mine, and of course, that's not unusual, they mix you up and they give him credit for it. But that's not the point, but I
No,
mean,
no.
I did carry the duper, and I remember the first time we went out, which was just right north of, just a little ways north of Shamrock. And I went out, put my Claymore mine in, I just got back, and the fire was going over our head. And Lieutenant, of course, you're right next to the lieutenant with the duper, because you had to be there if, you know, he wanted to drop certain.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, he did that. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm checking your blood pressure, or your heartbeat, because he didn't know how I would react under fire.
Unbelievable. But do you remember who that was?
Yeah, Lieutenant Klaus.
And he was serious. He was serious.
Yeah, he did that. He said, and he says, I wanted to make he wanted to check my heartbeat, that I wasn't going to jump up and go berserk. And you know, the guy shot about 6 rounds of.
So was that your first time that you got to fire on purpose?
I didn't get to fire. They fired at us.
No, I mean, you weren't returning?
No. Like I say, we had just got in there, and we was facing our fire support base. We wasn't that far from it. And so he was between us and the fire.
Oh, okay.
And,
I see.
So, but I saw Lieutenant Klaus, I'll say 6 months later, and he knew that I would probably move up in the rank. He saw something in me.
Do you remember the first time you actually saw tracers go by?
No, can't say that.
Yeah. Did you have any bullets go close enough that you heard them snap?
Zing zing.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so, what was a normal day for you guys at Shamrock? What would you, generally speaking, what were you doing? Day rifts, ambushes, both?
Yeah, well, you do ambush patrol at night, and then you do ball games during the daytime.
Mm-hmm. And
Did you call it ball games?
Ball games.
What is that?
Well, they give you, let's say, 6 coordinates, and you go from point A to point, looking for K.
like the bases?
I see.
Well, not bases. I
just
mean,
never
where they
heard-
thought,
No, I mean like,
where they
ball-
thought maybe something might be hid, caches of some kind, or
I've never heard any other veteran
we
say ball
call
game.
them ball games.
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So, tell me about the very first ambush patrol you went on.
Well, that was probably basically it when I just mentioned when we went just right to the north of our fire support base, and I was carrying the duper
And did you guys pop?
no, we didn't shoot, because we'd been
Okay.
shooting right back at our guys.
Okay. When is the first time you were on it? Did you go on an ambush patrol where you actually popped the ambush?
No.
You guys never popped one? Okay. And on day rifts, about how far do you remember going on day rifts? And what area were you walking around in?
Well, again, we were assigned to the Parrot Peak.
Yep.
So I would have to say 2 or 3 miles, I don't know.
And that would be about right, yeah. And, so Fishhook, did you get down that way a little bit too? Cause it was just down from the Parrots Beak. So you were right, I mean, were you at Kotrick?
Mhm.
So you were pretty close to the Cambodian border.
Right.
Was there ever any rumors, or did you guys ever hear about the Diamond Fire Support Base? You never heard about the Diamond that was set up a little closer to Cambodia and Kotrick, and we got run over by a couple of regiments? They never, that story never.
They never got back to.
I get a lot of guys that came in like, around August or whatever, and because Diamond 1 was so successful, we got so many of our guys killed that the Army thought, well, gosh, if we can do that and get a whole bunch of, body count, then, it was worth the soldiers that died. We'll just do Diamond 2, except we'll put it a little closer. And then the same thing happened there, and so Diamond 3. And they put us just a little bit closer. That got old after a while, as you could imagine. How long were you there when you started making rank?
I'll say I got here 3 months.
Pardon me?
3 months?
Okay, so then you were E3 or E4?
Give me a second. Ju- 13 June, private first class, 30 September, sergeant fourth class, 28 October, sergeant. A few accommodations, and May 8th I was promoted to staff sergeant.
So sometime in there, you were probably running the platoon, I'm thinking.
Oh, yes. Well, basically after Sergeant Franks left and Sergeant Radelaide and went back in the Gucci.
And then you were, what was it like running the platoon?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, sorry.
Did you guys do a lot of eagle flights?
Yeah, we qualified for the air medal, but also we could have had a palm or two, but we didn't get.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't record it.
Too much of that, so-
Send it into the right place,
So-
I get it.
So.
And did you ever hit a hot LZ?
Yep.
What was that like?
It's well, because like I say, we was kind of that part of our day routine. We was always standby for battalion if
You were ready to go.
we.
I remember we did that for a while as well.
Yeah, I mean, so you could come in off an ambush patrol and say, go and take a nap, but you're on.
As a reactionary, you could be put out there as,
Okay.
or a blocking force or
Whatever.
whatever the case might be. Did you ever spend any time at a place called the Vamkodong River?
No, no. Vanco, I
Yeah.
know the river, I don't know if that's what it was called, yeah.
Yeah.
We went up and down, we'd go over there and jump on the Navy to pick us up and
That was my next
take
question.
us down the river.
What did you think of the riverboats?
Well, one night, we was going upriver, and they picked up movement on their radars. So, Lieutenant called back to base and going through the channels and stuff. We had got permission to get off the boat and go search to see what the activity
The
was.
movement was, yeah.
I won't tell you what it was. It was a herd of water buffaloes.
Oh, well,
And
you know what? That was good for you.
yeah,
That it turned out that it wasn't a bunch of
yeah.
NVA or something in
And
there.
they told us to kill the ones that we wounded. I don't know, dark and stuff. But the point being is, we heard about it the next morning.
Yeah.
Getting back into base, the word was out that we opened up on a herd of water buffalo.
Sure.
But yeah, they did that 2 or 3 times. I remember one early in the morning. For some reason, they wouldn't let us take ponchos, but you know how that goes. Butler was on the end, and it was there, and people was rushing and stuff, and making all kinds of noise.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
Finally, we found out that for some reason, they was, there's some kind of bugs or insects crawling inside their pants and stuff. So the river boats picked us up again. They took us up to one of their places so those guys could take showers and stuff. So.
Was it Godaha? Do you remember
I-
the name
I don't-
Godaha?
I don't remember.
Because that was one of the bases where they worked out of.
So,
Yeah.
but that's the only two things I can remember. On the river, you know, we was close to it. A lot of times we would do our APs out towards the river.
Yep. And so, when was the first time that you were out that one of your guys got wounded?
Well, to be truthful, the only time he didn't get wounded, he lost his life.
And who was that?
That was Johnny Rarick. And
Oh, John Rarick. That was in the Renegade Woods. Were you present that day?
I was right behind him.
Okay. So you were, because I mean, a lot of guys know, you know, about Rarick and that deal. You're the first guy I've talked to that was there. You know, I mean, you know how there was two files and so forth.
The Alpha Company, Bravo Company was blocking for us, and Charlie,
Yep. And of course, Charlie Company,
we walked into it.
got its, it was, how was it that Bill?
This was a hedgerow, so to speak, and Alpha was over there, and the company commander was here. I and my wing was walking out in the middle of the field like that. And we got out there and we stopped.
Where were you at in the file?
I was behind Johnny.
I mean, were you up towards the front? Or?
Yeah, we were out there. There was Johnny there and I'm there, and then we were out there in the middle of the
No cover.
no cover. And we took our backpacks off, and I laid my rifle on my backpack and started chatting with guys, and they smoke, and we're doing their smoking. And we probably 15, 20 minutes, we put our, well, first of all, before I took my backpack off, I looked over there, and I said, how are we gonna get through that hedgerow?
It's dense.
Yeah, I said, well, I'll worry about that when the time comes. So I sit down, set my backpack down and chat with everybody, and we put our backpacks on, and,
Were you still a duper guy, or were you?
oh, no, I was duper, no.
M16?
I was only a duper probably, I'll say 2 months,
Okay.
I don't know. I was M16.
Okay. And what rank were you at that time?
5,
Okay. You weren't running the platoon.
I was.
Oh, so you at E5 you were running the platoon. Okay.
Yeah, because the day before, we were back in Cu Chi, getting, you know, every 3 months, they try to get you back
A
there.
3-day stand down.
Yeah, to get you a new pair of boots, maybe a pair of pants.
Yep. Maybe a steak if you were
And
lucky.
for some reason, they tried, I guess it would come up quickly, as far as I can tell, because I was one of the first ones down to the chopper pad, and Lieutenant from Delta was there, 4th Platoon, mortars. And he was standing there, and he said, Sergeant Yost, I put in to be the company Jeep driver. And he said,
Oh, you had?
he said, Sergeant Yost, you don't want to do that. And I said under my breath, you son of a bitch. Because that's, officers was go out there and how soon can they get a job in the rear? Well, he was going to stay in the rear. So I knew that. So he was telling me your men respected you 2 months, this and that and the other, that you didn't want to become the company Jeep. So the next day ended that. So,
What did they tell you prior to being in the Renegade Woods?
nothing.
Nothing.
I wish now I knew what
No,
was
I
that.
mean,
No,
literally,
nothing.
it was just a day sweep.
Well, like I said, we went out there, and when they dropped us, I don't know, a couple of rounds, zing zing, so you just figured a sniper's weapon comes gonna, I guess if they were serious. But anyway, that night, and it must have been Alpha Company, because it was to our north. There was all kinds of activity going on up there.
I mean, you could hear
Yeah,
fire.
I'd go up there. We went up there, and they brought in medevac stuff. So evidently they took some. So something was happening the night before. So they told us to go back, you know, if you have any kind of movement at night and, you know, you try to go to a different location so they don't come and
Oh, yeah.
overrun you. But we went back to the same place but nothing was said. The next morning we got up and ate our rations and.
You know, hindsight's always 20/20. Looking back at that day, that morning of was it the 5th
Second.
or the 2nd of April? Have you ever asked yourself why a helicopter couldn't have been flying around and seeing something? Were they all dug in? Were they entrenched
They had to
in?
be dug in. 'Cause-
Yeah, I mean, you know, because there was a ton of them. Wasn't there like a regimental size unit there?
Yeah, I got pictures of it.
I mean, isn't that a fact?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, like I say, you're just looking around, and there was no signs of, but like I say, evidently,
boy, if they get in those hedgerows, you don't.
they was right up there in that corner there, you know, where this hedgerow went over, then the one that where we was gonna have to try to get through, they was right up there in that corner, and I bet you, we didn't take 5 steps after we put our backpacks on, and they opened up on us.
Machine guns. And so, of course, you had
Everything.
nothing to do but drop.
And then company commander come over, and then the lieutenant come. I don't know why they kept running out there and with us, because like you say, at least over here you had the hedgerow,
Yeah.
and they would have a hard time shooting right straight down the hedgerow. But like I say, and the lieutenant.
Was it, do you think, looking back, was it just that they didn't analyze the situation properly, or they didn't know what they were running into?
I guess
or-
they didn't know what they was running into. I don't know why it come out there, because like I say, you was just, again, somebody was looking out for you, because
So did those 2 guys get killed?
the lieutenant cried, because he was one of those that said he was going to get the first job in the rear, and we slapped him with morphine, and he wanted to know why he got injured. But no, I don't know why they come out of there. But Cooney and I pulled him back, and I don't know.
So,
Like I say, it's just like sports when they blow the whistle. The X and O's, you think you know where they're going to go, but you don't know when they're going to go.
so during this time, are the bullets flying?
Oh yeah.
And so you guys are returning fire. Are you having any effect? I mean, does it seem like you're,
I don't think so.
yep. And so how long were you out there in the middle of that field?
Oh, I really can't remember. A lot of things was going through your mind, like you say.
Did it seem like forever? You're good. You're just fine. Nope, you're doing just great. You're doing just fine.
Anyway, took them a long time to get, you know, they brought in the gunships and everything else, and
Did you have a radio up there with you?
yeah, radio's right behind me.
And were you
No, I
squawking?
mean, no, I mean, no, that's too much going on out there.
No, I mean, that's what I mean. So the RTO, he's just in a gunfight himself and trying to
Well,
communicate.
like I said, the company commander was right over here. So, but like I said, they brought in, I bet you it's probably about an hour before they started hauling the wounded out,
Oh, yeah.
because they was trying to bring in gunships and,
And would you say that most of the wounded and killed were in the initial opening barrage, if you
Right.
will? Would you say that?
I would say that.
Okay.
But again, I couldn't tell you because
Yep.
it's kind of hard to.
Well, you know, have you ever heard the fog of war? It's, everything is happening so fast, and I don't want this to be an unfair question, and so please, if you don't want to comment, but as you analyze, in other words, your mind is going a million miles an hour, and you're trying to think about what the next move is. Did you ever have the thought that this could be it?
Yes, and like I say, it's just a, you don't know why you're back here. Because there was another time when Sergeant Franks was moving back. Because Sergeant Franks was down there, and Sergeant S. and Dunlap was back there, and I was up here with Lieutenant Davis, and it was a bad night. All kinds of activity going around, and all of a sudden, very early in the morning, also about 2, 3, come a bit and con up the pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And Sergeant Franks opened up down there. Time he got out there and I looked at me, I said, "Oh God, this guy was so big." But anyway, I was on the radio. I was the only one awake on my end, and I shot a burst of rounds out there, and he shot back. And again, I was on the radio, and he hit the smoke canisters on the radio, and they popped. Smoke was, and he hit the 2 young men that just got off of duty. And the lieutenant stood up, and first thing you do is go to the bathroom. Anyway, he said, "What are we doing, target practice?" And he realized it was actually, and he got on the horn at that point and started talking Italian stuff. But
So these 2 guys were newer guys?
yeah, no, well, yeah, they were new, but again, we never brought any. The people that was flying around up there dropping the illumination stuff, they actually went and finally hauled them out. But like I say, at that time, if I was right next to the radio, and the canisters were hit,
Unbelievable.
and the 2 guys to my right were hit, again, so this whole experience is, they always say, "Why me?" So it's just the luck,
Yeah.
luck of the draw. I mean,
I came to that conclusion when I was there, because there were just things that happened that were so unexplainable that I couldn't come up with any better explanation. So the 2 guys next to you, were they killed or wounded?
wounded.
Okay, so they're talking, and were they like hit
Yeah.
real bad, or?
Well, again, activity and stuff. Of course, like I say, there was only 1 guy, so
Medic, what's he doing?
the medic was, but I mean, there was only 1 Viet Cong out there. He was just the only one.
Okay.
And he's right across the passway, and there was one of the farmers there, and he hit himself in a little bunker there at the end, and they found him the next morning. He had put a grenade under him,
No kidding.
and knowing that we would pull him out, so we threw a grenade on him to blow him up.
Yeah.
Go to deactivate a grenade. We went
Wow.
up and down the path a few times in the next couple of days, and he was still alive.
Who was the medic at that time?
I could,
Did you say he was still alive?
no,
Oh.
he died. So we wounded.
But did he booby trap himself?
Yeah.
That's what the grenade underneath him was all
Yeah,
about.
right. Yeah, he knew he was gonna die, so he put the grenade on him, so, and we spotted it the next morning, but then the decision was made to.
You know, I'm gonna go back to something that Bill Vaught said. He was there that day. And he said, in the whole time he was there, the Army in general and Charlie Company in general and his platoon in general was used to giving it out. In other words, they were used to be the ones that were putting the heat on somebody. He said he came to the realization he was trapped, he was stuck. And he goes, "You know what? We're getting our asses kicked here." And he goes, "I never experienced anything like that." In other words, it was always us giving it, but now we're getting it. And he goes, "We got it bad." He said, "We really got our asses handed to us." And I think to myself, how better could you describe that? I mean, you've never experienced anything like that, So the night, okay, the Gook, was that the time, was that the worst day of the Renegade Woods, or was that prior?
This is before, this was probably about 3 or 4 months prior to that.
Oh, so you guys were running around the Renegade Woods months before?
No, this wasn't the Renegade Woods, this is a pathway.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Close to our old Shamrock area.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, okay.
I'm sorry I jumped back, but like I say, I just want to get a point is that, things happen in Renegade, but another time that was
Yeah.
pretty very close was.
And so, if I recall hearing from somebody else, you guys were in Cuchi, and they said, "Everybody get your gear
Right.
because we're
out.
going."
That's it.
But they didn't say they didn't say what you were walking
No,
into.
I think, again, that we probably got the orders to get us out there as quick as possible, like I say, because I was the first one down to the chopper pad, and then the lieutenant from, was there, and he's the one that was telling me about,
So you got everybody loaded
that
up?
when we got out there, and,
Was this at night or in the day?
that would be in the daytime.
Okay, so you're
'Cause-
going out there, and of course I know because I was doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Your mind is going, what are we going? What are
Yeah,
we
and
going
like I
into?
said, we went out there and we did ambush patrol that night, and that's where I'm assuming it's probably a young man from Alpha. All that stuff happened up to our right,
Yeah.
and then the next morning we got up, and again, nothing said, we just moved forward. Our mission was to head towards Charlie Company, the blocking force.
Okay, and then, so then that happened, and you mentioned John Rarick. What were you guys doing, or what was the occasion when John Rarick?
Well, like I say, we had just ended the break, so to speak, and slapped our backpacks on, and like I say, we took about 5 steps if that far, and
They just boom, they just
They just
opened up on
us.
you. Did John just go down? So he never had a chance.
well,
I mean, he
No,
wasn't shooting. Or,
In my opinion, he was dead before he hit the ground.
okay, okay.
And the reason I know that, growing up in eastern Colorado, watching pheasant hunters, when they hit a pheasant, they'll go up. When they start down, they go up and down. And I seen him, but again, I'm gonna say that is my version.
Well, yeah, that was
And I
your,
right
that was
fr-
your view.
And I was right behind him, but again, I think there's different stories from what Jerry said as far as, the write-up, because I don't see how he could have pulled anybody out. I mean, if he would have been in pain, crying, and there was nothing.
And-
But
Yeah, and a lot of times, stories like that, once they start, they become mythology, right? I mean, they become true war stories,
Well, actually, yeah.
if you will.
So
So
I know what I saw.
did you go up and attend to him?
No. They wouldn't.
So
Like I say,
too much fire coming in.
and well, yeah, you probably wasn't between the distance between here and your son, but
Oh, wow.
the point being there is so much happened, and why these guys kept running over there. So we pulled back the guys that were wounded, and
Did you get in a position of defense then? You still weren't in a spot where you could.
we were just out in the middle,
Jeez.
and like I say, zing, 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 zing.
How many guys that you were with that day got wounded or killed?
Like I say, the only thing I can tell you is Rarick and us pulling people back, and because at that point your mind kind
Oh yeah.
of shuts down. Yeah.
Do you remember? Were you directing people, or were you trying to?
No, I mean, so much was happening so quickly. I mean, I guess that we should have told the guys to hell with it. Not that they would hurt us or did it, but I don't know.
Yeah. And then it's my understanding that a lieutenant got killed that day, or
I really couldn't tell you.
was that Charlie Company?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Have you ever read anything, write-ups about the Renegade Woods?
When we was up to the reunion, they told me about it.
Okay, I'll send you something that it was a Army, it's records. And it'll at least put everything in perspective as far as, it's never like being on the ground, but at least it mentions names, and names come back to people. So how did you guys ever get out of that? Did they bring in artillery, Cobras? I mean, all of a sudden, we saw the full strength of the United States Army come to bear.
Air Force or whoever was flying it.
Any napalm?
I don't know if they did that because we was kind of close, but
Mhm.
like I say, they took them a good hour to pepper the area and stuff before they started doing medevac.
And then I'm assuming they probably did him out the area. I mean, that's usually
Well-
what they did, right?
I don't know if they did. I don't know if Bravo Company, because like I say, Bravo Company was on the other side, acting as a blocking force.
Yeah.
So if they did, I don't know if we killed them all with the gunships
Yeah.
and stuff like that. or if any of them, like you say, got away and headed towards Bravo, and Bravo encountered a firefight. I don't know.
Hmm. In the middle of a firefight, when you see a cobra come over your head and start shooting, what does that feel like? Is it like elation, like I want to cheer? I want
No, no, I just, just.
thank God.
Yeah, like I said, I don't get too excited.
Thank God they're here now.
No,
Did it take a while to get support?
no, I mean,
They were there pretty.
pretty fast. Yeah.
Do you remember? Were they using artillery?
I don't think we used artillery. I think most of it comes
Too close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
GIs were too close, but I think just the air support.
When did this battle come to an end?
Well, like I say, I wasn't there when it came to the end because I was one of them that the air back. But
So you got wounded?
uh,
Tell me about that.
well, I must talk about.
I mean, was it?
No, it was not serious.
No, but I mean, was it when Rarick and you were up
Yeah, well,
at that same time?
so yeah, that's where I got my front ball hurt. But yeah.
Okay. And so you had a lot to deal with. I mean, you just had a whole bunch to deal with. And then the medevac, and you go to the 12th evac, I'm assuming, in Cucci. Did you take a bullet? Is that how you got?
Probably more shrapnel bullets or something. Yeah,
Okay. And where did you take that?
in the wrist, arm.
Okay. So you go back to Cucci, and then they're,
Sewed me up and sent me back to the unit.
how long did you get to convalesce?
I think I was probably back out the next day or two.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't serious.
Okay.
It was,
Uh,
like I said, luck.
After you got back to the unit, did everybody have a chance to
We didn't talk.
nothing?
We didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it.
Yeah, no,
Like I say, I learned you don't get too close to your comrades.
just because of this reason. Yep.
You're
And
one-
especially the new guys. Man, I don't even want to know your name,
Yeah,
right?
But no, I try not to get too close.
Let's just talk about that for a minute. Who were some of your, I don't want to use the word close, but who were some of your buddies that you were pretty tight with?
I really wasn't. I just did my thing, and I really didn't.
Well, why is it that the other guys that I talk to, always, when your name is brought up, they always say you were an outstanding platoon sergeant? Why is that?
Well, I think I was, and the company commander, our first sergeant, I meant to say.
Yeah?
He must saw something in me, or number one, I wouldn't have been put up for rank. And evidently, it's when they have slots to fill, I don't know the procedure.
I know.
But if there's a slot open and they have candidates to fill that slot, and because that lieutenant told me the next day, Sergeant Yost, you don't want to be the company jeep driver,
Oh, yeah.
or you won't become E6. So it sounded to me like he was part of that circle of
He knew. He knew.
I was in discussion amongst the leadership of the lieutenants and stuff, but there was one time, we always called ourselves Charlie Company, Charlie Platoon, we was a cleanup. And I can remember it's fire support basis, we was stringing wire. And again, I didn't do this, but Sergeant Farmer, 26 years.
First sergeant.
Come to me one day and said, again, it seems like when I was out there with a group of young men, we got things done and pretty efficient. And he came to me one day and he said, Sergeant Yost, would you accept the assignment of running the detail daily? He says, if you accept putting up the wire fence with, for the company, you won't have to do any ambush patrol.
How many months had you been in country at that point?
Oh, I'd have to say
Were
six.
you,
I
were
don't
you getting
remember.
short? Were you getting short?
No, I probably got 6 months or so.
Okay, so it's not like you were last down to
No,
your
no,
last.
no.
Okay, okay.
And I told it. I thought about it, and I said no because I didn't want my fellow guys to think that I was better than they were. That
Yep.
I didn't have to go out to ambush
Oh,
patrol.
sure,
and stuff.
sure.
So I turned him down and let him do things as he saw fit. But he did ask me if I would. So evidently he saw something in me that we was, maybe my leadership style was affected enough that we
Mhm.
were able to get that.
Did you
So-
ever call in artillery?
No.
Did you know how to read a topographical map?
Uh-huh.
I know you brought some, but I mean, were you pretty good?
Well, yeah, there was.
There was no elevation
uh,
except graveyards.
Well, one night, well, one of our ball games was we was heading to the river, and they wanted us to go across this little part of the river to find, and so one of the guys swam across there and they threw a rope and a couple of them went over there. Well, they sent us back out there that night for our ambush patrol. I said, if we had to take a rope to get across the river
Oh,
in the
no.
daytime, what are we gonna do at night?
Oh, my.
So this is a bad thing that, I shouldn't say this if this gets back, but we sat on this side of the river.
Yeah.
And Delta Company, Delta Platoon, had a habit of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they would drop Rolling Peter on them. And so this night, because Delta was down next to the river and we were right over here, and here went illumination, and they call us this. Here was I supposed to give him my court. I was supposed to give him the coordinates.
Sure.
And here I was trying to
Sure.
figure out, here I was supposed to be here darker than you know what. And a guy at the other end said, Sergeant Yost, I think we need to work on your compass. Nothing else was said, but I knew I wasn't in the right place at the
Sure.
right time, but I was trying
Sure.
to figure out where the reading should be if I was to be over there, but no, I didn't.
Being the platoon sergeant, you used to go to a meeting at the CP, and the company commander and so forth would give you the mission. Is that how that worked? They'd tell you what your ambush patrol, where you were going, or what the mission was? Is that how they did it?
No, CO didn't do it. It was probably filtered down through the lieutenant and to us.
Okay, so you didn't go to any of those meetings where the mission was actually discussed? That might have been helpful,
That might have been.
you know. So the lieutenant now comes and gives you the good news, and we're gonna go out here. Who was the lieutenant when you were running the platoon?
Well, I started out with Lieutenant Davis, and the Lieutenant Davis, the one who was with us when we was in Renegade. But I had a few in between there, but.
Did you know Wiesner? What was he like?
Like I said, I didn't get close to too many of those guys. I always respected them, and they seemed to be.
Everybody that I've talked to has high remarks for him. When I was in the field, there were only two kinds of lieutenants: good ones and bad ones. It just didn't seem like there was any in between. And I was lucky enough to have served with some good ones, and unlucky enough our platoon was unlucky enough to have a couple of really, really bad.
I don't know
ones.
if I wouldn't call anybody good or bad, but the second Lieutenant Davis, he told us on day one that he was gonna get the first job in the rear, and he was gonna suck up and do whatever he could to get it. And he says, Sergeant Yost, he says, I'll work with you. He says, one day you'll go out to furthest ambush patrol, and I'll be, close in, and we'll change it around. Well, that only happened maybe a couple of times, and
Yeah.
I always got, so like I say, he was trying,
Yeah.
that's why he was wanting to know why he got injured that day.
Man, he
got to go back to the rear, so I guess.
Sure. What went on in the months after Renegade and stuff? What was it like months
Well,
as the months went on? Let's say.
Well, it was, had 30 days in country, went to Cambodia. Back in Kuchi, we had to swim back. I was back in the rear for some reason, and you got your hooches over here with with
The
maybe a few,
screens and
yeah,
the-
with a few bunk beds and
Yep,
all your gear over here.
Yep.
But they wanted everybody right over here next to the hooch that was closest to the lieutenant and
Sure.
the sergeant and the supplies and stuff. And I think that, and I don't know what I was back there for, but I was back there, and probably the first time I took my shoes off. And all of a sudden, we got woke up, a rock hit that metal roof over there. It was a grenade.
Mm.
And I got up in bed and I just shook, and I went outside and I tackled this guy. And again, your adrenaline is going and stuff and stuff.
This guy tossed a grenade on the roof?
Uh-huh. And it went off as it come down the side of the supply sergeant hutch. But anyway, finally the lieutenant got there.
Was this some
Back in
bum?
Yeah.
Yahoo?
I don't know what was going through his mind, but since I didn't give him the Miranda rights, I can't remember. That was part of my training.
Oh my God, I don't ever remember that.
Anyway, they sent him on a truck way up toward Nui Baudin, and he was up there for a while. He was a thorn in our side.
Yeah.
Between the time I left, he was up there a while. They jumped on the trucks and come back into Coochie, and we finally they apprehended him again, and they asked.
So was he just floating? He was just trying to hide? And
I don't know what he was going through his mind or what. But anyway, I was in the back, getting close to leaving. They sent me back maybe a week early because they was hoping that they would manifest us out, but they couldn't get the plane in fast enough. So
Now let me
I
back
had
you
to.
up a little bit. Did you take an R&R?
Yeah, I went. Well, I did. Went two places. I don't know which is which. 9 months in country. I went down and evidently, I don't know how long there. They said, Sergeant Yost, if you're not on a plane, you're heading back to your unit. So I ended up going to Taiwan.
Oh yeah.
For,
Interesting, though.
and the only place I really wanted to go was Australia.
Oh yeah, everybody wanted
But there was 2 seats left, and of course they give time in country.
always. That was the prize. If you could get Australia, that was
So I did go to Australia with 2 weeks left.
sweet. Oh, you did?
And I debated about going. Why spend the money? But I figured it was the only chance. So I did go to Australia with a young man from our unit.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. And I called Mom and Dad that, well, wee hours of the morning for them. And told them I'd be home in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I went to Australia, and because that's the only place. I wasn't married. I didn't want to go to Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't.
Did you write a lot of letters home during your tour? Fair amount.
I got a few in there. If I wrote to anybody, I wrote my older brother, telling him, Mom was used to say, she'd read this stuff in the paper, and I would remind her it's like Colorado is only part of the United States. You know, we're part of a
Yeah.
big picture. Don't worry about it. But I used to write, and I found out later he told my sister about some of the stuff I wrote about.
My mom was the typical mom, just like yours. Every night they had Vietnam on TV. Action. And my mother told me when I got home, she says, I would sit there and I would always think I saw you. And you remember those action pictures? You couldn't probably tell who was what, but things were blowing up. And she always said every night it broke my heart because I thought, it was you.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of told her basically the same thing. I said, well, I probably wasn't even close to that, but that didn't matter. Your mom is your mom, and they're gonna worry no matter
Right.
what. So, okay, Australia, 2 weeks. You get on the Freedom Bird. Get ready to come home. What was that like? Did you go like, I can't believe I'm actually?
No, I was just kind of loud, and I can remember a couple of young guys that, again, you're not supposed to drink on there, but somewhere along the line at one of the pub in Japan, they picked up a couple bottles of hooch, and they were, but I arrived back in San Francisco about wee hours in the morning, about 12 o'clock, and because I called my folks and told them I'd be home that day. And
Did they take you into a reception area or whatever to debrief you?
briefing- I don't remember the debriefing, I
Or
remember the
get your-
clothing and stuff.
Oh, pardon me?
Seems to, I don't know about clothes or what, I don't know.
But did you spend the night there?
No, I think we arrived like about 7 o'clock and we was gone by 12.
Oh, so there was
Hanging
no,
out,
no
no,
holding you over
no.
for anything? So then you went to an airport and flew home?
Flew to Denver,
Did they mention anything to you about not wearing your uniform?
yeah. If they did, I can't remember.
Yeah. Did you have any weird experiences where people said things to you that weren't complimentary or?
Well, like I say, they, they did not acknowledge the Vietnam War veterans. So.
Mhm.
But I do remember Greenwood was out here at the old Texas Stadium, and I forget who.
Lee Greenwood?
Yeah, I think it was for the first Iraqi,
Mhm.
and the stadium was full, and they did acknowledge and ask the Vietnam veterans to stand up. But that's about the only time we got.
Did he sing Proud to be an American? I'll never forget. I know where I was at, exactly, in person, it was live. And for some reason or other, I've never had that feeling again. And if you ask me what it was, I can't put it into words. But it was, one of the things, when I started looking for the guys in 2003, I had never told anybody about my Vietnam service, just didn't do it. And my wife Laura, my current wife, she didn't know anything about it. And so as I started to look for these guys, and I would find one, of course I'd be in her office and telephone on speaker, and I'm writing and taking notes and everything. And of course, stories started to be told. And I would get very emotional because now it's starting to pile on. I mean, things are coming back. I had blacked out a lot of stuff. And my poor wife, I didn't realize it, but she'd be sitting back there, tears just running down her face. And as this went on and I found more guys and stuff, I didn't realize what it was, the stress it was putting on her. So, she's been just a wonder, she's supported this whole Wolfhound thing ever since 2003. And she, she just loves the guys. She just absolutely loves all the vets. And so as I was finding guys, I found about 25, and I asked somebody, I said, what would you think of a reunion? And Russ Bruns was his name. He goes, God, I think that'd be a great idea. So we had our first one in Washington, D.C. And basically, guys came either alone or they brought their wife. And it was in a little setting, but it was the beginning of healing. I mean, I can't even tell you what that 3 days was like, but it was life-changing. And we decided at that time that we'd do one every other year. And then as the reunions progressed, spouses came, adult children came, grandchildren. I mean, and so as the family has gotten involved, guess what? Now we know why Grandpa's like he is. But the wives, you cannot believe how many wives on the first reunion they go to are going, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I just had no idea.
Well, I have not talked to my family about that day, because I didn't think they wanted to hear about it, and they finally told their mom that they felt like I didn't want to talk about it. But again, Ruth went with me up to Tulsa, and when I told Jerry that my wife was there, he said, good, bring her there, and she was really impressed with the little time that we were there. So.
Yep. Well, I just can't, I just hope and pray that you guys come, because every reunion just seems to get better every time. So you got home, did you just go to work?
No, from Vietnam?
Yeah, so
No,
you're
no.
home and did you
No, in
just,
June, I got home in June, July, I had to report to Fort Riley, Kansas.
6 months to go?
Yeah, like I say, I was supposed to get out in January, but I signed out in December. Yeah, again, it was the idea of they were building troops up in Fort Riley, Kansas to show the world how fast we could transport 10,000 GIs from here
Wow.
to there. So I got to go to Germany for 3 weeks, and they flew us over on 141s, you know, GIs leg to leg. Over
Web
to-
seats?
we stopped in Dover, gassed up, and they flew us over, and so we spent. Well, it wasn't infantry over there. They put us in APCs.
Yep.
And that's about the only time I pulled rank, is because they didn't want a bunch of heads sticking out of the little porthole. So we drove up and down the Autobahn and ended up in a hedgerow at night and spent the night out in the hedgerow. And one night we did go, they had us on a train to move us across country. And so we played war games
Oh, yeah.
the second week there, and I guess we got killed at next to the last day. I guess our unit got killed, and then the last week we stayed in the base there. No hot water, cold showers. This is in October, just snowing over there, and so yeah, I got to see Germany, parts of Germany, and
So when did you meet, have you been married once or more than once? When did you meet your wife?
Well, after I got out of the service, finished my graduate school, I met my wife in, let's say, 75 in San Antonio. I was working for a car rental company, and one of my employees was a good friend of her brother's, and we had a blind date.
Oh.
So we ended up, we got married in, I guess, in 77.
And how many years have you been married?
Well, 77, I don't know that. Almost
A long time.
42, I don't know.
Sure, sure.
Got 2 boys.
Yep, that's awesome. Let me ask you this. What is your definition of a hero?
Well, I think anybody could be I mean, I don't know what criteria you would say to be a hero. To me, is if somebody goes out and do their best, you know. And,
Did you think there was any heroes in Vietnam that you served with?
I didn't tag anybody as that. To me, we were all there for one reason, and let's work together and get the job.
Doing our
get the
job. Yep. Okay. And what does the American flag mean to you?
Well, it means a lot, especially this day and age when you see, first of all, burning at number 1, and number 2.
I just can't, I can't tolerate that.
And I can't figure out why the government cannot pass an amendment, but
I don't know.
but it's just like here in Dallas, the city of Dallas kind of cracked down on the panhandlers. And supposedly they was, for a couple of years, they were supposed to be able to, I guess, give them citations and stuff, but now it's against their First Amendment rights.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, everything is,
Yep. And I want you to look in that camera. And now, I think I shared with you that these interviews are going to be on our website for the family, generations of grandkids, great-grand. We're going to try to get this funded for 100 years, this website.
okay.
I want you to look in the camera and I want you to give your grandkids, great-grandkids to come, their kids, your best advice. What advice do you have for the generations to come?
I think the best thing you can do is just be yourself, and respect your fellow friends, persons, whoever you're playing with, and always be willing to give a helping hand.
Do you want to tell them, even though you're not there, you love them to death?
Oh yeah, I definitely love them. They like Grandpa, and
Isn't being a grandpa just the best?
we had a granddaughter born on April 2nd, and I haven't told him that was the day I got hurt.
Wow. How, the contradictions, and yet how things happen like that. Something so horrible, and something so wonderful. Isn't that something on the same day? Well, Lloyd, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you coming, number one, and sharing your story with us. And it never ceases to amaze me. I've done a lot of these now, and every time I sit with one of you guys, I learn more and more and more about what our unit went through, in Vietnam, and I just hope and pray. What I want more than anything else is for you guys to feel pride in your service. I want you to know that it wasn't for nothing.
I think it's true. I mean, we feel that way. The public doesn't feel
I know,
that way.
but that's what I want for you,
Right.
for us, for you guys. So, thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
And thanks for always being there.